Heartwarming Billionaire discovers twin girls alone in park with suitcases. Journey to an incredible new family begins. Frank Callahan, a self-made billionaire with a heart still grounded in his struggling past, laced up his running shoes for a jog through the local park. The crisp morning air filled his lungs as he pounded the pavement, the rattle of life buzzing around him. But today was different. As he rounded the bend near the old oak tree, his eyes landed on something that made his heart quicken. A pair of 8-year-old twin girls, Mia and Zoe, sitting on a bench, their wide eyes disturbing the tranquility of the morning. Nestled between them were 2 tattered suitcases, their only companions. His chest tightened. How could they be alone? The weight of the moment washed over him like a wave. Memories of his own childhood flooded back. The struggle, the laughter, the love crashing in his heart like a freight train. He approached slowly, was stopped dead by a flicker of hope reflected in their tear-streaked faces. "Hey there," he said softly, kneeling to their level. "What's going on?" The girls exchanged glances, vulnerability painted across their brows. Finally, Mia spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're waiting for our mom." Frank felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. Abandoned? The word struck a chord deep in his soul. Growing up, he had watched his mother work herself to exhaustion for their small apartment, her resilience shaping him into the man he was today. He knew he couldn't just walk away. "Why don't you come with me?" he asked, feeling something divine spark within him. "I can help." As Mia and Zoe settled into their plush new surroundings, their eyes darted about like shy woodland creatures. Frank's heart swelled. He envisioned being there for them, giving them stability, love, everything he wished he'd had more of in his own childhood. However, the warm embrace of his intentions swiftly collided with skepticism from the surrounding neighborhood. What's the billionaire up to this time? Whispers of doubt ricocheted around him. He could feel it. Parents were wary, wondering if he could actually understand the depths of the girl's pain. Could a man of means connect with the wounds left by abandonment? But the girls wore their scars bravely. Still clinging to unease, Frank urged them toward art and math, investing in therapists that cultivated their unique talents. He saw the light in Mia's brushstrokes and Zoe's swift calculation, unraveling potential that was far greater than their past. Yet outside forces were not kind. A powerful investor loomed, planning to undermine Frank's charitable work. Before he could process his emotions, another tumultuous twist unfolded. Their mother, presumed lost from the world, had been found alive. The news hit him hard. Could he really keep the girls safe if their past was to return? As he grappled with this conundrum, he felt a shift in the community. Support was starting to swell. But would they rally behind him in the face of this chaos? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every turn felt more fraught than the last. How would he navigate the fragile heartstrings of these girls upon discovery of a mother who had struggled so desperately? One thing was undeniable. Frank's heart was fully drawn in, entangled in a web of family, choice, and hope. But as the dust settled, a burning question loomed: what truly defines a family? Frank stared out of his sleek office window, watching as clouds rolled in over the city. A storm was brewing, both in the sky and in his heart. He couldn't rid himself of the overwhelming thoughts about Mia and Zoe's mother. What kind of mother had left them? Did she truly care? Or was she just another ghost haunting their lives? Suddenly, the excitement of his recent success felt hollow. The twins were settling in, finding joy in the little things around their new home. Yet with every laugh shared, another piece of anxiety crept into his mind. Frank glanced down, his fingers tapping against the polished desk. He had promised them safety, stability, everything he never had. Would this promise shatter when the girls learned that their mother was alive? He pulled out his phone and called his assistant, Rachel. Her lively voice spilled through, comforting him. "Hey, Frank. Everything okay? Can you coordinate a meeting with the girl's social worker?" he asked, hoping to gain insight before the inevitable confrontation. I need to understand how this works." "Absolutely. I'll get on it right away," she replied, sensing the gravity of his request. As he ended the call, Frank caught a glimpse of Mia and Zoe in the corner of his eye. They were sprawled on the floor, books and paint supplies surrounding them like daydreams ignited by creativity. Mia's forehead crinkled in concentration while she painted a sunset, and Zoe was focused on solving a math puzzle, a determined expression on her face. For a moment his heart soared. These girls were finding themselves amidst a storm. But then a flash of uncertainty dulled the brightness. The weight of their past hovered like a dark cloud, begging for attention. He walked to them, kneeling down beside the twins, who looked up with sparkling eyes. "What were you working on?" he asked, allowing himself to be enveloped in their world, even if just for a moment. "I'm making a painting of the sky," Mia announced, her cheeks flushed with pride. "And I solved this. Look, Frank." Zoe waved a crumpled piece of paper, beaming. "Wow, you two are amazing," he said, genuinely impressed. It felt good to share those moments of joy with them. Then, just as he admired their spirits, a shadow cast over his heart. "Hey, can I ask you something?" They nodded, curious. When you meet your mom again, how do you think you'll feel?" He held his breath, waiting for the answers that might shatter their little sanctuary. Zoe's eyes flickered with confusion, while Mia bit her lip, her paintbrush pausing mid-stroke. "I don't know," Mia finally murmured. "I think I'll be scared," Zoe added, her voice small. Frank swallowed hard, the weight of their innocence heavy. "Scared is okay. It's okay to feel whatever comes. Remember, you're not alone in this. I'll be here." Mia took a breath, her eyes hopeful yet uncertain. "Will you help me paint a picture for her?" A wave of determination surged through him. "Of course. We'll paint whatever you want." In that small moment something shifted. The storm could come, and while it might bring uncertainty, it also brought hope, the chance for healing. These girls could paint new stories, ones that didn't just dwell on the past but looked to the future with optimism. But just when Frank thought he'd found his footing, a loud knock echoed against the door. He turned, heart racing. Who could that be? Before he could rise, the door swung open. Standing there was the unmistakable figure of the girl's mother. Her weary eyes met his, a mixture of anger, sadness, and desperation swirling within them. "Where are my children?" she demanded, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. The room went silent. Frank's heart raced, uncertainty gripping him. What would happen now? Would this moment break everything they had built? Frank froze, his mind racing. The familiar chaos of feelings churned inside him as he locked eyes with Mia and Zoe. They looked at him, their faces painted with confusion and fear. The air thickened as their mother's presence took hold of the room, every second stretching out like an eternity. He stammered, finding it hard to catch his breath. They're safe here." The words felt weak, almost pathetic, as they tumbled out. "Safe?" she sneered, eyes narrowing. "You think keeping them from me is safe? Who do you think you are?" Before Frank could respond, Mia stood up, holding her paintbrush like it was a sword. "Frank is our dad now," she exclaimed, her voice trembling but firm. "You left us. We don't know you." Zoe stepped forward, clutching her crumpled math paper like a shield. "You didn't want us. Why are you here?" The emotion on their mother's face shifted, a crack forming in her anger. Frank saw a flicker of regret, perhaps a hint of fear. She looked unsteady, torn between anger and the undeniable love of a mother. It was painfully human, and it shattered the picture he'd painted of her in his mind. "Mia, Zoe," she began, her voice faltering. "Are you here to take us back?" Zoe asked, her small voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. The question hung in the air, heavy and loaded. Frank's heart raced. They were asking everything he feared. Their mother took a step forward, her voice cracking. I didn't mean to leave you, girls. Things got so complicated. And I thought what? Frank interrupted, exploring a mix of protectiveness and disbelief. That it was better for them to be without you? Her brows furrowed in frustration, but doubt crept in. I was lost. Please, can we talk? Just a minute, that's all I ask. Frank's instincts screamed to shield the twins, to protect the little world they had built together. But there was a glimmer of humanity in her eyes. He could sense the pain and the longing, layered under a scrim of regret. He took a deep breath, trying to keep the situation from spiraling. Okay, he finally said, but let us do it somewhere else, away from the girls. But I want to stay with Frank. Mia whimpered, seeking reassurance with her big, innocent eyes. Frank kneels beside her, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. I'll be right back, I promise. Just for a moment. I need to understand this. As he stood and walked toward the door, he glanced back at the twins. They stood there, vulnerability reflected in their expressions. The room felt charged with emotions, as if they were standing at the edge of a precipice. Outside the door, he took a breath, barely prepared for what he might hear. They moved together to the hallway, where the loud chatter of life echoed, almost mocking the silence inside his chest. The possibilities weighed heavily in the recesses of his mind. Just tell me what you want, he said to their mother, as the noise of the world melted into the background. I want my girls back, she replied, her voice shaking, but I don't even know how her sorrow mirrored his. And in that moment, he realized he faced a pivotal choice. He had to protect the twins, but was she capable of change? Could she fight for them in a way she never had before? The resolve to safeguard what he had built crashed against the faint hope that maybe, just maybe, reconciliation could be found. As he stared into her eyes, he knew they were both on the edge of a new storm. Would it tear them apart or bring them together? The world around him was silent, waiting for him to make the next move. What would he choose? Would he allow her back into their lives, or would he stand firm? And could she prove herself worthy of being their mother again? Frank's heart pounded in his chest as he searched their mother's face for signs of sincerity. The echo of her words had carved deep lines of doubt in his mind. Did she truly want her daughters back? Or was this all part of a fleeting wish? She began, her breath shaky. I've made mistakes, but I want a chance to make things right. I miss them. I miss you. The last part hit with a weight he didn't expect. It wasn't just about the girls. She was reaching for him too. The urge to protect Mia and Zoe surged within him. But in the back of his mind, a small flicker of hope dared to ignite. Maybe this was the turning point. You can't just come back and expect everything to be fine, he said, voice steady but firm. You'll need to show that you mean it. I will. I promise, she exclaimed, desperation spilling over. I'll do whatever it takes. You don't know how much I've changed. Changed how? He pressed, the skepticism weighing heavy in his voice. What have you done to fix things? Everything after I left was... Well, it was hell, she said, tears welling in her eyes. I lost myself, but I found a way through. Took years. I just want them to have a mother they deserve. Frank's insides twisted as he recalled the threads of their past. The times she had been absent. The nights spent wondering where she was and if they were ever enough. Yet, staring at her now, he couldn't help but notice the vulnerability splayed across her face. She looked like she had fought a battle and was still standing. What if they don't want you back? He asked quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. They don't know me anymore, she admitted, looking down the hall as if the very thought of them left her defeated. But I want to show them. I owe them that. The sincerity in her voice tugged at him, wrapping around his heart like a vine. Their mother was flawed, so very human, but could she be the mother they needed? The hope he clenched deep within him urged him to consider the possibility of forgiveness. I'll help you, Frank said, the words slipping out before he could think better of it. But it has to be in baby steps. I won't let you hurt them again. She nodded, relief washing over her features. Thank you. Thank you. But just as Frank allowed himself to feel a sense of cautious optimism, the door creaked behind him. It was Mia, her paintbrush still clutched tightly in her small hand. "Frank?" she called, eyes darting between them. "Mia, sweetie," he said softly, kneeling to her level. "Everything's okay. I just needed to talk to your mom for a moment." Mia's gaze was wide, searching. "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure," he assured her. "But I want you to know that whatever happens, you and Zoe are my priority. Okay?" "What did she say?" Mia pressed, her voice a whisper edged with trepidation. "Nothing that you should worry about right now." Frank was careful with his words, sensing that revealing too much could unleash a storm of fear in her. As he glanced back at their mother, who was now shifting her weight nervously, he felt the weight of the decision he had just made settle over him. Was this the right choice? Could he really put his trust in her again, no matter how tiny that trust felt? In that moment, time stood still. Frank could already hear the echoes of laughter and chaos in their home, interlaced with burgeoning memories, as they shifted to welcome a new chapter. But was it wise to open that door? The air hummed with promise and uncertainty. Frank inhaled deeply, preparing for whatever would come next, while the twins watched from behind him, their innocence hanging in the balance. Suddenly, a voice pierced through the hallway, bright and clear. "Frank," Zoe called, bursting into the hall with a drawing clutched tightly in her hands. "You have to see what I made." As the tension melted, a part of him cringed. This was the moment when everything could shift. Tension could either evaporate into comfort or boil over into chaos. The two paths loomed ahead of him, and Frank had to make a choice. Could he truly let their mother back into their lives? And if so, was he ready for the implications that would follow? The smile on Zoe's face glowed with innocence, casting a shadow over Frank's dilemma. Would hope triumph over caution, or would he remain anchored in the safety of what felt familiar? As he took in the radiant joy of the twins, the answer began to form. All eyes were on him, waiting for the next step in their story. Would it be one of reconciliation, or would he continue to protect the treasures he held so closely? All the answers seemed just within reach, but the real question gnawed at him. What if everything changed in the blink of an eye? Frank swallowed hard, forcing down the swell of emotions that clawed at his throat. Zoe's excitement was infectious, yet it made him acutely aware of the delicate balance he was trying to maintain. He straightened, shifting his focus to the artwork she held. "What's this, Zoe?" he asked, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his heart. "It's a picture of our family," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Look, that's me and Mia and you." She pointed vigorously at a set of stick figures, colors bright and chaotic, a swirl of crayon passion. He glanced at Mia, who had crept closer, her head tilting as she inspected the drawing. "You painted us," she piped up, a mixture of delight and disbelief in her voice. "I did, but I forgot to add Mom," Zoe said suddenly, her brow furrowed. "Can we add her, please?" The request hit Frank like a freight train. He opened his mouth to respond, but he was struck by the weight of Zoe's innocent plea. How could he explain the complexities of their mother's departure to his little sisters? How could he possibly introduce the idea of togetherness when it still felt so fragile? Their mother hovered behind him, her eyes glistening with unarticulated longing. Frank turned to her, wary of the potential fallout. "You should decide, Mom," he said cautiously. "Do you want to be a part of this?" "Yes," she answered, her voice barely more than a whisper. A big breath escaped her lips as she moved forward, instinctively kneeling to Zoe's level, her hands trembling just slightly. "I love that, honey." Zoe's face lit up, unaware of the adult complexities weaving through the air. "Yay, then let us draw." Before Frank could give his thoughts a voice, Mia pulled on his shirt, her expression serious. "But what if she leaves again?" she asked quietly, a spark of fear in her wide eyes. His heart clenched. "Mia, let us take this one step at a time, okay? We don't have to decide everything right now." His words were softer this time, an attempt to reassure her without hardening his own resolve. Their mother's face darkened momentarily, but she quickly masked it with a smile as she patted Zoe's back. "Let us add me in right here," she said, pointing to a space amongst the stick figures. "Make me big and bouncy, Like a hug. Zoe giggled, encouraged, and grabbed the crayons with renewed enthusiasm. Frank watched the two of them, each stroke of color weaving a memory of warmth and laughter. And for a brief second, he felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could navigate this storm together. But as the crayons danced across the paper, there was a tension clinging to him, weighing heavily. Every cheerful laugh and excited cheer from Zoe felt like a reminder of the risks. The evening light flickered through the windows, casting long shadows in the room, echoing his own uncertainties. Mia stepped back, glancing between Frank and their mother. "What is gonna happen now?" she asked, her voice small. All the eyes were on him. "I don't know, sweetheart," he admitted, regret pulsing through him. "But we have to take the time to understand each other. It's not easy." His mother's gaze was steady, and for the first time, he noticed a shadow of determination crossing her features. "I'll show you. I will, I promise." This promise, though precious, felt slippery in his hands. But he didn't want to tear down the fragile peace they had created. "Can we bake cookies too?" Zoe piped up, her enthusiasm infecting the room like a shot of sunshine. Zoe's simple joy broke through the tension, and he felt himself smile despite the doubt. "I think that's a brilliant idea," he said, glancing at Mia, who reluctantly nodded. "What if she burns them?" Mia asked, crossing her arms. "We'll just have to keep an eye on her." Frank grinned, his heart swelling with a mix of hope and fear. The laughter echoed through the house, mingling with the scent of promise and uncertainty. Frank allowed himself a moment to breathe deep and embrace the joy. But far away, lurking in the corners of his mind, a shadow whispered doubt. Could he truly trust her again? Would she stay this time? And if she had changed, how long would it take for their family to heal completely? As Zoe opened the cupboard, searching for flour, all he could think was what lay ahead. Would this be the start of something beautiful, or the beginning of another painful chapter? The thought lingered heavily, raising an uncertainty he could no longer ignore. What would it take for their mother to earn not just his, but also Mia's trust? His heart raced again as duty and hope waged war within him. The real question loomed. Would this fragile attempt at reunion hold, or would it crumble when tested by reality? Zoe scrambled up onto a kitchen stool, her tiny legs swinging as she searched for the ingredients. The warmth of the fading sun imbued the space with a golden hue, painting a hopeful start to what could be a new beginning. Frank busied himself at the counter, grabbing the mixing bowl and a whisk while glancing toward Mia, who was still standing back, arms crossed tightly. "You know, Mia," he said, hoping to draw her out of her shell, "baking cookies is an art. Takes teamwork." She looked up, her brow still furrowed. "But what if Mom is only here for the cookies?" Her skepticism cut deep. Frank didn't have a clear answer, but he reminded himself that family moments often began in uncertain ways. "Let us focus on the cookies for now, okay?" He forced a gentle smile, letting it linger, hoping it would lighten the weight in her heart. Zoe squealed as she found the flour. "I did it," she cried, raising the flour bag aloft like a prize. "Careful now," Frank warned as flour cascaded from the bag in a cloud. "We don't need a flour explosion." Their mother laughed, kneeling by the table to scoop up the fallen flour, creating little puffs like soft clouds. "Oops," she said, her tone cheerful, a refreshing sound against the backdrop of tension. Zoe giggled again, a sound that pulled at the side of Frank's heart he had long forgotten. Maybe today could be special. Maybe they could reforge the connection he feared was forever severed. "Mom," Zoe started, "can you tell us your favorite cookie recipe while we bake?" Their mother hesitated, and the stillness crawled between them like a thick fog. "I'd love to, honey. It's called family cookies, a little of this, a little of that, and a whole lot of love." Just the thought of it made Frank's heart flutter. Their mother was trying. Maybe this was her way to mend the broken pieces, a sweet distraction backstage in their tangled emotions. Mia shifted, finally stepping forward. With a look of determination, she reached for the chocolate chips. "Here. We need these." The atmosphere lightened. They poured chocolate chips into the bowl, each one landing with a little plop, eliciting bursts of laughter. "Now we whisk it all together," Zoe was all smiles as she grabbed the whisk, moving it in frantic circles like a miniature windmill. Like magic. Careful, not too fast. Frank chuckled, caught up in the moment. They were building something together. The laughter was stitching holes he didn't even know existed. Their mother joined the fun, stirring alongside Zoe. Who can be the fastest without spilling? As flour and chocolate chips tangoed around the kitchen, Frank couldn't help but feel a flicker of warmth in his chest. Maybe they could create something beautiful out of chaos. But as they placed the cookie trays in the oven, doubt seeped back in. Had this moment, filled with laughter, truly shifted anything? Or were they just painting over cracks? A knock at the door startled him, releasing a gust of worry through him. Uninvited guests could mean unspoken problems he wasn't prepared for. "I'll get it," Mia said, hastily wiping her hands on a towel. Without waiting for him to object, she rushed off toward the door. "Mia, wait," Frank called after her, but it was too late. His heart raced, his hands instinctively gripped the counter. What if it was someone from their past? What if it was someone who would unravel whatever fragile thread they were weaving today? The sound of the door creaking open echoed ominously in his mind, drowning out the joyful bubbles of laughter still lingering in the air. When Mia's voice floated back from the entryway, the tone was different. "Curious. It's for you, Frank." His breath caught in his throat as he moved toward the sound, his heart pounding harder than before. What could it be? As he reached the doorway, he caught a glimpse of their mother, eyes wide, caught between a smile and a somber expression. There, standing in the threshold, was a figure from their past, a reminder that the past hardly ever stays buried. "Who is it?" Zoe squeaked, her curiosity palpable. Frank's chest tightened. Would this visitor help them heal, or push them all back into the shadows? Something shifted. He took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. But deep down, he knew this moment would redefine everything. And just before he stepped out into the uncertain light, that question loomed in his mind once more. Could this finally be their chance to rebuild? Would this encounter bring them together or shatter everything all over again? The door swung open wider, and the evening light poured in, illuminating the figure standing there. It was Ben, a childhood friend Frank had lost touch with over the years, and the sight of him stirred a whirlwind of memories. They had shared so much laughter, from backyard campouts to late-night video games, but life had taken them down different paths. Ben was grinning, but Frank could see shadows lurking behind those familiar eyes. "Hey, Frank. Long time no see." Ben's voice rang bright, but the hesitation that followed was palpable. Frank's gaze flicked to Mia, who was still at the door, the surprise etched across her face. Zoe, oblivious to the gravity of the situation, bounced around excitedly, tugging at Frank's shirt. "Who is it, Daddy?" "Just someone from a long time ago," Frank replied softly, trying to mask the storm brewing within him. Memories of their friendship mixed with the anxiety of what Ben might reveal. "Can I come in?" Ben asked, adjusting his baseball cap, the casual gesture feeling oddly out of place with the weight in the air. "Sure." Frank stepped aside, his heart racing. The last time they had spoken, he had been grappling with the fallout from his parents' separation. The scraps of their childhood had fallen silent, buried under silence and resentment. Ben entered, his smile faltering as he took in the chaotic kitchen cookie dough mess, flour remnants, the family connection they were all cautiously attempting to rebuild. "Wow, smells great in here," he said, but there was a slight tremor in his voice, an indication he sensed something deeper lurking beneath the surface. Zoe rushed over to him, eyes gleaming. "We're making cookies. Do you want to help?" "Of course. Who wouldn't he love cookies?" he replied, kneeling to meet her gaze, trying to embrace her carefree energy. The laughter from Mia and their mother faded into the background, replaced by an almost uncomfortable silence between Frank and Ben. Frank felt the walls inching closer, memories flooding him. What had brought Ben back? Was it mere nostalgia or something more? "Mia, why don't you check on the cookies?" their mother suggested, sensing the tension. Mia nodded, slipping away to the oven, leaving Frank and Ben to navigate the unsteady waters between them. Frank, Ben started, scrubbing the back of his neck. I came to talk. There's something you need to know. About your mom. Frank's heart sank. He had hoped this reunion would be uncomplicated. A moment where he could brush aside the darkness of the past. But it seemed fate had different plans. What do you mean? What about my mom? Ben glanced briefly toward their mother, who was trying to engage Zoe in the kitchen. It's complicated, but you need to hear it from me, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper as if the walls had ears. Frank almost laughed, nerves bubbling up within him. Everything always felt complicated since that summer when his world shattered. Just say it, Ben. Ben hesitated, caught between loyalty and truth. I've been helping to take care of her. She has been going through a lot. Every word felt like a weight pressing down hard on Frank's chest. So she hadn't been alone in her struggles after all? The guilt and anger he thought he had conquered rushed back, tumbling through him like a flood. Zoe interrupted the moment, clambering back with an armful of cookie sheets. And just like that, the heavy air lightened again. What are you two talking about? She asked, blissfully unaware of the undercurrents swirling between the men. Just adult stuff, kiddo, Frank replied, forcing a smile. Okay, can I help ice the cookies next? For now, Frank set aside the rising storm. With his heart still unsettled, he focused on the laughter and delighted squeals of Zoe's anticipation. But as Ben stood there, conflicted emotions churning behind his eyes, Frank couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was about to happen. What were the implications of Ben's words? Was this the beginning of healing or just another cycle of hurt? With each passing moment, the question lingered in Frank's mind. What other secrets lay beneath the surface, waiting to emerge? Frank felt the tension crackle like static in the air. He watched as Ben tried to mask his own worries behind a smile, but it wasn't working. The children's laughter faded into the background as the reality of their strained connection came rushing back. Zoe had no idea about the shadows hiding in their history, and Frank wished he could banish them, if only for her sake. Help me with icing, Ben. Zoe's bright voice broke the thick atmosphere, echoing like a bell. She scampered to the table, her excitement a beacon of innocence. Sure thing, Ben responded with forced enthusiasm, moving to join her. The little girl handed him a spatula covered in colorful sprinkles, her eyes wide with joy. Can we make it look like a rainbow? Absolutely. Rainbows it is, Ben said, laughter touching his voice as he dug into the icing. It felt surreal, seeing Ben engaged like this, almost as if they were back in the backyard making mud pies, carefree and unburdened. Watching them, Frank felt a pang of longing. Those were simpler times. But the past lurked like a shadow, reminding him of everything that had happened since. As Ben smeared icing onto a cookie with exaggerated flair, Frank found himself torn. The warmth of nostalgia clashed with the heavy concern that weighed on him. Hey, Ben, Frank finally said, drawing the man's attention back to him, a seriousness in his tone. What's really going on? I mean, with my mom. Ben stopped icing a cookie, looking up through slightly troubled eyes. Look, Frank, I didn't want to drop this on you like a bomb, but she has been struggling. Okay? I'm not saying it's all on you, but she needs help more than you probably know. Frank's heart raced as a flood of emotions cascaded through him. His mother had always been a pillar, or at least that's how he saw her. The thought of her struggling alone left him feeling helpless. How do you know this? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Ben sighed, then glanced at Zoe, who was now humming to herself while sorting colorful sprinkles. Let's just say I've been around, helping out when I can. Helping out? Is that it? Anger, guilt, and concern swirled within Frank, battling for dominance. Why didn't you come to me? I deserve to know. I didn't know how. You were dealing with so much yourself, Ben retorted, the tension in his voice betraying the frustration behind his calm mask. That struck a chord. Frank knew all about navigating difficult emotions, especially since his parents split. Yeah, I was, but you could have reached out. We could have worked through it together. Zoe looked up at them, her innocent gaze darting between the two men, sensing something unspoken. "Everything okay, right, Daddy?" Frank forced a smile for her, yet the truth felt like a weight pressing down on him. "Yeah, sweetie. Just talking." He felt like a liar, but he pushed the feelings aside. It was all about Zoe now. Ben resumed icing, the easy camaraderie between them fading into something more complex. Frank realized they weren't the carefree kids they once were. They were both adults carrying new burdens. As the cookies piled up, the laughter in the kitchen filled the void of unsaid words. But that void wasn't really gone. It simmered just beneath the surface, a quiet storm waiting to erupt. Frank noticed the way Ben's smile didn't fully reach his eyes anymore. The words left unspoken hung heavier than the dough in the mixing bowl. Just when he thought they could navigate towards healing together, more turmoil lurked around the corner like an unseen wave waiting to crash. "Maybe we can talk more later," Frank suggested, his voice softer, careful. "When things settle down a bit." "Definitely," Ben replied, but there was an uncertainty in his tone that sent another jolt through Frank. They spent the next several minutes in a tense, yet fun rhythm, decorating cookies with Zoe leading the charge. But Frank's mind was a whirlwind, the words Ben had dropped like grenades echoing in his thoughts. He had so many questions. Did she know he was struggling? What exactly had Ben seen? As the laughter flowed around him, Frank couldn't shake off the feeling that the crux of their past, their memories intertwined with darkness, was only just beginning to unravel. What else was hidden beneath those memories? What would happen when the truth finally came to light? Frank's thoughts spiraled as they continued frosting cookies. Each sprinkle Zoe scattered seemed to carry a weight far beyond its color. The laughter bounced off the walls, but it felt distant, muffled by everything unsaid. "Look, Daddy, it's a rainbow," Zoe exclaimed, holding up a cookie like a trophy, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Just like you, sweet pea," Frank managed to say, pushing aside the churn of his emotions. Her innocence was a gift he wanted to cherish, yet he felt the heaviness of his mother's situation hanging in the air. As Zoe resumed her decorating, Ben stole a glance at Frank, his expression betraying little, but the tension remained, threading through the laughter like a stray strand of red yarn. "You know," Ben began slowly, "it's not just about her. You've been through a lot too, man. Maybe you should talk to someone." Frank's gut twisted at Ben's words. "Like a therapist? You think I need that? I think everyone could use an outlet." "It doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human," Ben replied, his gaze shifting to the mess of icing and sprinkles on the table. Frank opened his mouth to respond, but the reality of his mother loomed large in his mind. "I guess I just don't want to feel more helpless than I already do." It had been a long time since Frank felt he needed help, but life had thrown more storms than he could weather alone. "What if I get overwhelmed?" "Overwhelmed is better than pretending everything is fine," Ben said gently. "I've been there, remember? You can talk to me." Zoe's laughter broke through their serious tone. She was dabbing a cookie with bright yellow icing, giggling at the mess she was making. "You guys are so silly." Frank smiled at her, but the undercurrent of fear clawed at him. "I don't want to drag you into my problems." "Nothing drags me. I'm your best friend," Ben countered. "And it's not just your problems. It's ours. We can handle this together." There was something comforting in Ben's words, but Frank was still wrestling with doubt. Their connection, once unbreakable, now felt frayed at the edges. They were both carrying scars that had shaped them, but he didn't know how to reconnect those threads. Zoe's innocent smile offered a momentary escape, but as she hopped down to fetch a blue sprinkle container, Frank's heart thudded painfully. He remembered nights he spent worrying about his mom, tears hidden behind closed doors, and the chasm that grew each time he chose silence. "Can I ask you something, Ben?" Frank ventured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Ben replied, his attention sharp. Do you think she's going to be okay?" Ben looked serious for a moment, and Frank inhaled deeply, desperate for an answer. "I think she needs us. But we can't pretend everything's fine unless we face it head-on." Frank's mind raced. Could facing the truth really change anything? Would it ease the guilt that sat like a stone in his chest? And what if the truth was more painful than he could imagine? An uneasy silence lingered as Zoe returned with her little hands full of sprinkles, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around her. Ready to make more rainbows? Both men smiled as they joined her, desperate to adhere to the moment, but the conversation hung there like a forgotten promise. As they continued creating colorful chaos, Frank realized that no colorful icing could cover the cracks in their lives. They were all in this together, but the conversation wasn't over. It was only beginning. What lay ahead would require more than just cookie decorations. Frank glanced at Ben, who seemed lost in thought again, and felt a shifting unease about the words yet to come. What other secrets were they harboring? What revelations awaited them on this fragile path they were navigating together? The cookies cooled on the counter, the room still swathed in the fading warmth of the setting sun. Laughter filled the air, but uncertainty loomed just beneath the surface. Frank stole a glance at the girls, their faces smeared with icing and joy, unaware of the layers of struggle grappling for air around them. "Great job, Zoe. And Mia, look at that swirl." Frank grinned, his heart swelling with a bittersweet mixture of pride and concern. "What are you thinking about, Frank?" Mia asked, sensing the heaviness hanging over him, her innocent gaze piercing through the facade he tried to maintain. "Just how lucky we are to have each other," he said warmly, squeezing her shoulder. "And how amazing our cookie creations look." As they started cleaning up the kitchen, Frank felt the intimacy of the moment blend with his churning thoughts. Could they ever truly heal from all their past hurts? The shadows of doubt still whispered, and he could feel the weight of Ben's revelation pressing down like a thick fog. Then he caught Zoe looking up at him, those big, trusting eyes full of life. "Daddy, can we save some cookies for friends?" she asked, her enthusiasm permeating the air. Frank nodded, his heart warmed by her thoughtfulness. "Absolutely. Let us share our goodies." Yet as he prepared the cookie box, he felt the unshakable truth of his mother's struggles looming larger than ever. "Mia, do you remember the last time we made cookies?" he asked, hoping to redirect the mood, but her face dropped slightly, a hint of uncertainty surfacing. "Wasn't it for that charity event last Christmas?" she replied, her voice quiet yet sincere. "When Mom was still away." Frank nodded slowly. "You did great then, just like today." He leaned closer to her, taking a moment to gather his breath. "We've come a long way." The warmth of her smile chased away some of the shadows on his heart as they gathered together to prepare the boxes. Suddenly, a voice interrupted their moment. "I was hoping I could get some too." It was Ben, who had been lurking at the edge, slightly hesitant. Zoe jumped up excitedly, her eyes alight. "Yes, come join us." She practically bounced with enthusiasm. As they filled the boxes, Frank shrugged off the lingering worries. This was a moment, pure, simple. But soon after, the conversation turned back to weighty matters. Ben began, his tone serious again. "We need to face everything regarding your mom, not avoid it." Frank paused, fighting the urge to retreat into deflection. He knew they needed to talk. "Yeah, you're right. It's just difficult." "It is, but you're not alone." That remark stung. Frank had spent so long wrapped in a cloak of independence and self-reliance, afraid to lean on anyone. "I never wanted to burden anyone else with my struggles," he confessed. "Frank, it's not a burden." Ben's sincerity pierced through the fog. "We've been through challenges together before. Remember? We can help each other. Don't you think keeping this bottled up is harder?" Frank felt the walls pressing in again, memories swirling like autumn leaves. What if she disappoints the girls again? They've just started to feel safe. Zoe, oblivious to everything, hopped back in. What if we bake her favorite cookies and surprise her? Then she'll know we love her. Frank's heart hammered. This child's simplicity struck against the complexity burdening his soul. "Sweet pea, it's not just about baking cookies, but it can help," Zoe insisted, her fierceness a reminder of hope. "And it could show her that we're still a family," Mia added, taking a step forward. The sincerity nestled deep inside him. Maybe you're both right. Maybe that's how we start rebuilding. Seeing Mia and Zoe's faces light up filled him with a new fire. This was it, the catalyst to rekindle bonds. The girls had fought through uncertainties and wondered where their mom had gone. Now was their chance to show her that they were ready to meet her halfway. Frank took a deep breath, heart steadying with purpose. Then we'll make the best cookies ever. We'll make a rainbow of love. The girls cheered, and for the first time that evening, Frank truly felt the shackles of doubt beginning to loosen. They could create a future, entwined with their past, rich with laughter and love, if they took it step by step. Suddenly, the doorbell chimed. Gifts of hope highlighted with the warm glow of family gathered together. Frank exchanged glances with Ben, reassurance shimmering in the air. Should we get it? Zoe asked, bouncing with excitement. Yes. Let us see who it is, Frank announced, the joy prompting hope to flood his heart. As they opened the door, anticipation danced in the room. There stood their mother, looking more vulnerable than he had seen in years, hesitant yet hopeful. Mama, Zoe squealed, racing forward to embrace her. We made cookies. Frank held his breath, watching the interaction unfold. There was magic in the moment, a spark igniting between his daughters and their mother. Hey, sweetheart, I've missed you both so much, she murmured, tears glossing her eyes. Frank stepped forward, heart racing. You're just in time to join us for an important moment. She looked at Frank, searching for words. I know I've made mistakes, and I'll work hard to show you. I just wanted to apologize for everything I've done. Those words were soft yet resonated with weight. Thank you for being honest. It won't be easy, but we're willing to try. We'll go slow. Relief washed over her face, brimming with gratitude and something else, determination. The light in Zoe's eyes reignited hope, and Frank realized they could mend the tapestry of their family together. He could allow the past to blend with the present, stitching new beginnings, ensuring that love would be the thread that held them together. As they all stood there, the air pulsated with potential and anticipation. Life would be complex, but now they could face it as a united front. Together, now was the time for healing. Felt right even in uncertainty. As they headed back to the kitchen, laughter from the past dancing with the promise of what was to come, Frank's heart swelled with the thrill of a future filled with warmth, love, and every color of the rainbow. And just like the cookies, it would take time to bake, but together they would rise to the occasion. This is the moment to reflect on how far they'd come and what they could truly rebuild. It was a story of transformation, a journey towards healing. If you loved this inspiring ending, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt conclusion. Your support means the world to us.